With one click, he unlocks a summoning system where the Banger AI system greets him, followed by a quick tutorial. However, when he activates the system, a juicy red vampire is summoned, who immediately quenches her thirst. So turns out he can summon a bunch of hot and powerful warriors to stop the Demon King Agars from destroying the world. And this concludes the intro. Help us get 300 likes, and let's begin. Amid towering pillars of sharp crystals, a booming voice questions why its dominance is being rejected. The voice asks the foolish humans why they are rejecting its offer of a world without suffering. The voice, belonging to a shadowy creature, questions why they refuse to embrace the despair-free world it offers. The man, standing resolute, declares that the future belongs to humanity and they will take back the future it took from them. The monster bellows about the future of humans leading to destruction, shouting "Die!" as it launches its shadowy, clawed arm at him. The man draws his sword, gazing up at the clawed hand approaching him. The shadowy arm smashes into the ground, causing a massive disruption. The monster gives a shocked expression. A woman, projecting a shield on her hand, declares her vow to protect Xiaoshang from the monster's harm. The monster raises its other hand, showing frustration at the woman for interfering, and bellows for them to die together. Before the monster can launch its attack, another girl shoots an arrow at it, calling it an annoying and ugly freak. Frustrated, the monster curses and calls the humans bastards, declaring them clearly foolish. Someone very fast and quick comes hurtling at the monsters, bouncing off the stone pillars like a ninja. A masked woman slices the monster with her blades as she jumps down, saying she used to think humans were hopeless as well. She explains that Xiaoshang changed her mind about humans and believes that though they may be fragile, they have unlimited potential. The monster roars at the masked woman, accusing her of treachery as its body damage exceeds 50%. Someone, flying above the monster, deems it noisy and tells it to shut up. A woman, saying it's for both Xiaoshang and herself, wields an electrically crackling energy ball. She tells the monster to vanish from the scene. The energy ball expands and crackles with lightning as she shouts, "Thunder strike!" Following a huge, blinding flash of light, a massive explosion occurs. The monster, its head the only visible amidst the rubble, curses and concedes defeat, issuing a warning to humans of a future more terrifying than death. Xiaoshang steps on the monster's head, dismissing its words as nonsense, and asks if villains don't die from talking too much. The girl with yellow hair tells Xiaoshang to not worry and says she made a vow long ago. She says Xiaoshang's life is everything to her, promising unwavering support against any impending foe. Xiaoshang, deeply touched by her words, draws closer to her, both staring into each other's eyes. The three women, watching Xiaoshang and Jean, remind them that they are not invisible, and one comments that what Jean says is cheesy. Annoyed, Jean asserts Xiaoshang is hers, asking the girl with white hair if she has a problem, who then tells her to get lost. The two of them start quarreling, each claiming Xiaoshang as theirs alone. Xiaoshang tells the girls to stop fighting. A piece of chalk comes flying and strikes Xiaoshang on his head, waking him from his sleep. Xiaoshang shouts, demanding to know who dared to attack him and questioning if the attacker isn't intimidated by his 40-meter-long sword. Xiaoshang stops talking. He realizes he is in a classroom and notices the other students looking at him, all laughing, and the teacher at the front looking really angry. The teacher, making an angry fist, scolds Xiaoshang for sleeping in her class and orders him to immediately write 1,000-word self-criticism. Sweating and startled, Xiaoshang tries to explain to the teacher that he was busy with something very important last night. The teacher asks what could have been so important, sarcastically suggesting if it was saving the world, to which Xiaoshang asks how she knew. The teacher asks him how he saved the world, and Xiaoshang responds by saying he defeated the big demon king in a mobile game with his wives. Annoyed by Xiaoshang's response, the teacher orders him to stop playing games late at night. She tells him to write 10,000 words instead, and warns him not to go home until he finishes. It's dark outside. Xiaoshang leaves his classroom after finishing his 10,000-word self-criticism, questioning over the phone if he truly deserved the punishment. He tells the person on the other end of the phone that playing games is more interesting than learning, questioning how one can live without them. Acknowledging the person's mention of having a 2D wife, Xiaoshang admits that while the game mode Infinity Fantasy Universe may be cliché, it still holds appeal. Xiaoshang says he's almost reached his home and hangs up the phone. Looking at his dwindling diamonds, Xiaoshang considers recharging despite the week of instant noodles it would entail, ultimately deeming it worth the sacrifice. From behind him, in the alley, someone calls out to Xiaoshang, claiming they finally found him and referring to him as Anomaly, startling Xiaoshang. A demon woman with horns asserts that finding him wasn't simple, revealing she's been waiting for Xiaoshang for a considerable duration. Puzzled, Xiaoshang asks her if they know each other and if there's something she needs. The woman claims she is there to play with Xiaoshang. She calls her girls out, instructing them to play nicely with Xiaoshang. The girls she referred to are dinosaur-like monsters, and she explains that she has cast protective spells in the vicinity, ensuring no one will oppose them there. Xiaoshang recognizes the monsters as velociraptors from his game and is shocked to see them in the real world. The woman asks Xiaoshang if he likes them and expresses disappointment if he doesn't. She orders the raptors to kill Xiaoshang, who charge at him upon her command. Xiaoshang looks terrified and unable to move. The raptors open their mouths to attack him. There's a splatter of blood. The raptors attack Xiaoshang, and the woman expresses disappointment that Xiaoshang turned out to be a weakling. She commands the raptors to do their job well, expressing her desire for the humans not to notice them too early. She walks away as the raptors maul Xiaoshang. She stops in her tracks as a blinding light fills the alley behind her, and she is shocked, recognizing the aura. A massive streak of light ascends from the sky. Following the massive beam of light, Jean appears, holding a sword in her hands. Jean states that she appeared at Xiaoshang's command. She opens her eyes and says she will become his protective shield. Sweating, Xiaoshang is plagued by nightmares of the events involving the Demon King in the alley. He abruptly wakes up, breathing heavily. Massaging his head, he expresses concern over the intense headache, attributing it to the criticism he wrote the previous day. Surprised, Xiaoshang hears a voice asking if he's awake. Turning, he sees Jean seated at the end of his bed. He questions why she's there, to which she replies that he summoned her the previous night. Visibly confused, Xiaoshang reacts to the revelation of summoning her. Suddenly, he recalls the events from the alley the night before. Remembering, he recounts how a card-drawing interface appeared as the raptors closed in on him, pressing a button that summoned a beam of light from the sky, causing him to black out after seeing Jean in the light. Xiaoshang asks Jean if she was truly summoned from the game, prompting her surprised inquiry about what a game is. Realizing Jean doesn't know about the game, Xiaoshang asks her where she came from. Jean explains that a voice told her the commander was in trouble, so she responded to the summons, prompting Xiaoshang to ask if she's referring to the dangerously dressed lady as the trouble. He admits that the shameless outfit she was wearing is quite dangerous. Jean warns Xiaoshang not to be deceived by the woman's outfit, revealing she sensed a demonic aura from her, and explains her hometown, the kingdom of Saint Francel, was invaded by her kind. She recounts how her father, the rural lord of the empire, provided a comfortable life for her, but the invasion of demons changed everything. Jean explains how the demons captured the capital, killing the king, and how even her hometown was ravaged by the flames of war. Hearing Jean's story, Xiaoshang recognizes it as similar to the background introductions of characters in a game. Jean tells Xiaoshang that after her hometown was destroyed, she heard the voice of the Lord telling her to save the country. She explains that afterward, she gained the approval of the crown prince and the bishop, was granted command of the army, and despite continuous victories on the battlefield, she was unable to defeat the demon residing in the capital. Jean warns Xiaoshang not to underestimate the demons and their minions, stating that anyone who does so will pay a price, as Xiaoshang asks if she knows about the demon that attacked him last night. Jean informs Xiaoshang that the demon's name is Morrigan, a subordinate of the Demoness Queen and one of the 12 pairs of demons. Stepping down from the bed, Jean explains that Morrigan's main abilities are enchantment and shapeshifting, and she tells Xiaoshang that the raptors that attacked him last night were the result of Morrigan's shapeshifting. Jean warns Xiaoshang to be careful, saying Morrigan is the most cunning subordinate of the Demoness Queen, while Xiaoshang asks her if she knows what an anomaly is. Staring out of the glass window, Jean replies that she is not sure about that and says she only knows that it seems to be related to the invasion mechanism of the demons. Jean mutters that's great, causing Xiaoshang to ask her what's great. With a smile, Jean gazes at the city and tells Xiaoshang that his world, a peaceful one, is great. Xiaoshang asks if Jean would like to go out and see the city properly, to which Jean, looking excited, asks if she really can. Xiaoshang, turning red and forcing a cough, expresses concern that Jean's outfit might not be suitable for going out. Out in the streets, Jean observes the bustling city with impressed eyes. Jean turns to Xiaoshang and asks where they are, inquiring about the location of the king's palace and if they will be visiting the king. Xiaoshang explains to Jean that they are at a market, a place where people buy and sell things, prompting Jean to remark that the place is larger than the one in her world, assuming things must be expensive. With a smile, Xiaoshang tells Jean he'll take her to get some clothes, to which Jean, looking happy, reveals she hasn't bought any in so many years. Xiaoshang assures Jean that she can buy whatever she wants, thinking to himself that he should be generous as he is spending money on his wife for the first time. 30 minutes later, inside a clothing store, Jean peeks out from the changing area, having put on new clothes, looking a bit uncomfortable as Xiaoshang tells her to come out. Looking embarrassed in her new outfit, Jean asks Xiaoshang if it looks a bit awkward, to which Xiaoshang assures her it fits well. Jean puts on another new outfit and asks Xiaoshang how she looks in it, only to realize Xiaoshang is bleeding from his nose. He brushes it off, urging her to continue trying on new clothes. Trying yet another outfit, Jean asks Xiaoshang how she looks, but notices smoke coming from his head. Concerned, she asks if he's okay, but Xiaoshang insists it's nothing. Jean tries yet another outfit and asks Xiaoshang if he likes it. However, Xiaoshang passes out upon seeing her. Jean asks Xiaoshang if he's alright and tells him to wake up as Xiaoshang lies stunned on his back. Xiaoshang and Genie sit on a park bench, a spread of food between them, enjoying the sunset. Xiaoshang, still surprised by the appearance of the waifu from the mobile game, stares at the summoning system, wondering what it is. Full of curiosity, he decides to give it another click. Suddenly pulled into a different place, Xiaoshang is confused and asks what is going on. A small girl with cat-like ears welcomes Xiaoshang to the ultimate gacha system, explaining he is currently in his exclusive system space, prompting him to ask who she is. The cat lady introduces herself as the exclusive AI system of Oni-chan, Alice01, suggesting Xiaoshang calls her Alice. Xiaoshang questions why she is referring to him as Oni-chan, to which Alice responds, implying that a shut-in person like him is supposed to love that kind of thing, and asks if he is excited being called that by her. Xiaoshang denies it, and Alice explains that the system around him is similar to the mobile games he is familiar with, where he can use gacha to obtain rewards like weapons, items, skills, and characters. With a cunning smile, Alice remarks that Xiaoshang is a small fry who can't possibly get rare characters, angering him with steam bellowing from his head. Alice challenges Xiaoshang to try a free 10 roll, and despite still being angry, he declares he will definitely pull an SSR from the free roll and show her his worth. Determined, Xiaoshang prepares to roll, declaring he will show Alice the power of the Gacha King. The first roll yields an N-card stone that falls on Xiaoshang's head, which he deems useless but quite heavy. Alice laughs, deeming the first roll a bad one, pitying Xiaoshang and mocking him. Frustrated, Xiaoshang reassures himself it's fine and he still has 9 more rolls to go, while Alice urges him to continue. After a few minutes, Xiaoshang's face is bruised, and his head bulges as he remains speechless. Alice taunts Xiaoshang, suggesting his luck is terrible. In despair, Xiaoshang remarks that the drop rate in that gacha pool is too low and declares he will recharge and pull another 100. Alice reminds him that the ultimate gacha system can't be recharged directly. Alice informs Xiaoshang that monsters from another world will appear one after another in his city, and if he defeats them and obtains dimensional shards, he will be able to pull the gacha. Xiaoshang comprehends Alice's explanation and realizes he will have to fight monsters to acquire materials. Alice elaborates that 1 shard is needed for 1 draw, and 10 shards are required for a 10 roll, guaranteeing an SR rate item, which could be a character or equipment. Confirming that the mechanism is familiar to him, Xiaoshang acknowledges his understanding. Xiaoshang is brought back to reality, muttering that Alice is detestable, prompting Genie to inquire if he has met Alice, having overheard him speak the name. Surprised, Xiaoshang asks Genie if she knows about that system, to which Genie confirms, mentioning it was what summoned her to help Xiaoshang. Reflecting on Genie's clear recollection of him and their shared experiences fighting alongside each other in the game world, Xiaoshang wonders if there are more than one anomaly. He ponders if others can also summon game characters and questions whether it's from the same game or different ones. Genie compliments the hamburger as a divine gift, prompting Xiaoshang to ask if she has never eaten it before, considering it the least technical food. Promising to take her to the food street, Xiaoshang delights Genie, who eagerly asks if all the delicious foods are available there. With a small smile, Xiaoshang declares he will show Genie what it means to be the Empire of Gourmet. Genie inquires if it won't be expensive, to which he confidently responds it will be very cheap, claiming it's a minor matter for him. As Genie and Xiaoshang discuss their plans for the food street, a woman emerges from behind a nearby tree. Holding 2 cards engulfed with energy, the woman declares she found them and perceives them as defenseless, throwing her 2 cards at them. Genie notices the incoming attack, pushing Xiaoshang away and blocking the cards. Puzzled, Xiaoshang asks Genie what happened, and she informs him they are under attack. Xiaoshang recognizes the woman as Jiang Yuan and calls out her name. Surprised, Genie asks Xiaoshang if he knows their attacker, and Xiaoshang reveals that Jiang Yuan is his class monitor. Jiang Yuan recognizes Xiaoshang as the student who loves playing mobile games, chiding him for his slow understanding, before revealing her own status as an anomaly and expressing surprise at Genie's intervention, prompting her to inquire about Genie's connection to Xiaoshang. Genie asserts to Jiang Yuan that she is Xiaoshang's guardian knight, stating that if Jiang Yuan wants to harm him, she'll have to step over her dead body. Xiaoshang flushes with embarrassment upon hearing Genie's declaration, finding it a bit awkward, but he urges her to continue. Observing Genie's anime-like dialogue and abilities, Jiang Yuan questions if she is summoned from another world, expressing surprise at Xiaoshang's enviable ability, and declares her intention to kill him. A child notices Xiaoshang, Genie, and Jiang Yuan from a distance, marveling at their abilities, while his mother dismisses it as nonsense, assuming they're shooting short videos. Xiaoshang suggests to Jiang Yuan that they should go somewhere less conspicuous to avoid drawing attention. They arrive at the harbor, where Xiaoshang explains that few people will be there at night, ensuring they won't be noticed. Xiaoshang questions Jiang Yuan about why she attacked him. Jiang Yuan swiftly dismisses the need for a reason for anomalies to fight, turning towards Xiaoshang and preparing to attack. Taken aback, Xiaoshang is startled as Genie shouts at him to be careful. Beneath the sea nearby, a water monster awakens, opening its huge eye. Jiang Yuan and Jin stand tall, facing each other. Jin wields a sword in one hand and a shield projection in the other, while Jiang Yuan holds cards engulfed in energy in both hands. Jiang Yuan tells Jin that she didn't expect her to have a few tricks up her sleeve and looks down on her, saying her combat power is still a bit weak. Xiaoshang, witnessing the battle, admits he didn't expect Jiang Yuan to be so powerful. Holding her own against Jin, he shows curiosity about her abilities, wondering if they are also derived from a specific game. Jin thinks Jiang Yuan and Hecate are alike, a kind of mage profession, and she charges at Jiang Yuan, claiming she needs to get closer to gain an advantage. Jin employs the technique called Holy Light Crescent Strike and swings her sword at Jiang Yuan, who blocks it with a long metal spear. Jiang Yuan asks Jin if she thought she was only capable of attacking from a distance and says she underestimates her. Jiang Yuan swipes her spear, pushing Jin backward with force, stating that when it comes to close quarters combat, she excels. Jiang Yuan claims that casting spells only from a distance is evidence of weakness, and she would never overlook it. She summons blue flames on her other hand and tells Jin to continue the battle, declaring she is about to get serious. Xiaoshang gets lost in his thoughts, reflecting on the combination of magic and melee combat he witnessed from Jiang Yuan. Xiaoshang connects the dots. Looking proud, he asks Jiang Yuan if she is playing a game called Spring and Autumn, Chronicles of Forgetfulness. He recalls that there is a handsome guy in that game who practices both magic and martial arts, and he mocks Jiang Yuan, saying a calm, serious, and beautiful class monitor like her is actually playing a cultivation game where one can pursue various handsome guys. With a cunning smile, Xiaoshang says if their teacher found out what kind of game she is playing as a class monitor, the teacher's delicate heart would shatter into pieces. Looking visibly irritated and angry, Jiang Yuan says she was thinking of going easy on Xiaoshang, but now she says she is going to crush him. Jiang Yuan goes after Xiaoshang for blood, who shouts for Jin to help him. While Jiang Yuan and Xiaoshang are busy quarreling behind, Jin's attention is grabbed by something. Jin stares down at the calm surface of the sea near the dock and is startled as something emerges from its surface. Xiaoshang notices what is happening as a huge tentacle comes down on him and Jiang Yuan. Screaming, he pushes Jiang Yuan and himself out of the way as the tentacle smashes onto the ground. A huge monster, resembling an octopus but far more terrifying, emerges from the water with many tentacles and a huge mouth. Xiaoshang questions if the monster is the same octopus creature depicted in the game, as Jiang Yuan says it might be the so-called interdimensional monster the system mentioned. Readying her card and giving a smile, Jiang Yuan says she has dealt with many mere interdimensional monsters before and asks Jin if she is interested in engaging in a match with her, to which Jin replies that is precisely her intention. Jiang Yuan uses the Taoist technique of Shangqing, the nine heavens diving thunder, as Jin summons a huge beam of holy light from the sky. Jiang Yuan electrifies the monster while Jin lunges at it, her sword ready. Both of them repeatedly attack the monster, Jiang Yuan electrifying it while Jin uses her sword to chop off its tentacles. The monster gives a big growl and slips back into the water. Jiang Yuan shows her surprise at the monster running away, and Xiaoshang questions if the monster is that weak. All three of them are startled as something attacks them from behind. Xiaoshang is hit by the attack which sends him crashing into the wall nearby as Jin calls out for him. Smaller tentacles wrap around Jiang Yuan and Jin, immobilizing them and taking them by surprise. The tentacles emerge from the water, and standing on top of the structure is Morgaine, the subordinate of the demoness Cuisin who had attacked Xiaoshang before in the alley. Xiaoshang slumps down on the ground from the attack, appearing as though he has passed out. Still bound by the tentacle, Jin turns to Xiaoshang, looking worried, and calls out to him, telling him to wake up. Xiaoshang opens his eyes, and suddenly a tentacle wraps around him, alarming him. The tentacle raises Xiaoshang from the ground and pulls him into the water, horrifying Jin. Underwater, Xiaoshang is helpless as he can't breathe and is running out of strength, as the tentacle pulls him further below. Outside, Jiang Yuan and Jin are still bound by the tentacles, and Jin looks desperate, knowing Xiaoshang needs her. Closing her eyes, Jiang Yuan's body begins to glow, harnessing the power of holy light to invoke sacrifice life, liberating her from the tentacle's grip and granting immunity to control effects and damage for 20 seconds. Jin, now free, doesn't wait a second and jumps into the water to rescue Xiaoshang, knowing she only has 20 seconds to save him. She extends her hand towards Xiaoshang, who is immobile and held captive by the tentacle. Sitting on railings at a height, Morrigan gives a satisfying smirk and, looking down, says it's getting more interesting. Inside the water, Xiaoshang seems to have passed out as Jean grabs onto his shoulder, pulls him closer, and gives him mouth-to-mouth respiration. Outside, Morrigan TSKS and says it's unfortunate as the show has just begun. Having freed Xiaoshang from the tentacle's grasp and grabbed him, Jean swims upwards. A tentacle grabs onto Jean's leg, pulling her down, startling her. Concerned for Xiaoshang's safety, Jean pushes him upwards out of harm's way as the monster approaches, its mouth wide open. Jean summons her sword and, using the holy light, activates the god's holy sword technique, a second-tier skill which can be used after using the sacrifice life. With the sword in her hand glowing, Jean turns towards the monster, which is coming for her, its mouth still open wide. A huge beam of light slams down onto the monster, defeating it. The system appears and announces that the interdimensional creature Deep Diver has been defeated, giving the reward, Interdimensional Fragments X14. Clutching her arm and with numerous holes in her clothes, Jiang Yuan breathes a sigh of relief at her newfound freedom, attributing her misfortune to the day and urging their swift departure from the area. Xiaoshang appears behind her and addresses her as the class monitor, telling her it's not good to leave suddenly like that, startling her. Supported by Jean helping him stand, Xiaoshang smiles and tells Jiang Yuan he is back. At Xiaoshang's house, Jean is taking a bath. Xiaoshang and Jiang Yuan are sitting in the sitting room, opposite each other, Xiaoshang looking a bit nervous. Jiang Yuan shows her disappointment at Xiaoshang still not being satisfied even after getting the fragments and asks him what else he wants. With an awkward smile, Xiaoshang reminds Jiang Yuan that they are comrades and tells her he is thinking too much, assuring her he is not that kind of person. Jiang Yuan questions Xiaoshang about their camaraderie, highlighting that as long as interdimensional fragments exist, they won't truly be comrades, leading Xiaoshang to inquire further. Jiang Yuan explains to Xiaoshang that interdimensional monsters come from games, movies, novels, and other sources, and each one killed can yield a different number of interdimensional fragments. As Jiang Yuan approaches Xiaoshang, she explains that the fragments offer new skills, items, and abilities, potentially leading to greater wealth and status, prompting Xiaoshang to question if she is targeting him to eliminate potential competition. Encouraging Xiaoshang to ponder the answer himself, Jiang Yuan divulges her ambition to conquer all the anomalies. Xiaoshang tells her that her goal might be true but points out that she wasn't very decisive when attacking him, making her go red in the face. Jiang Yuan brushes off Xiaoshang's speculation as nonsense and reminds him that all anomalies are her enemies. Jiang Yuan tells Xiaoshang that other anomalies will target him later, and then he will regret being so naive. She says that it's getting late, so she decides to leave and runs out of the door, thanking Xiaoshang for the hospitality and telling him goodbye before slamming the door behind her. Xiaoshang looks confused, wondering if he said something wrong. The mobile game, Infinite Fantasy Cosmos, is set in a fantasy world of swords and magic on the continent named Europa, where various races like humans, elves, and orcs live. The Demon King, Agars, from the demon realm attempts to conquer the land favored by the goddess, and its demonic army breaks through one country after another. Players will assume the role of a hero from another world selected by the goddess to combat the Demon King, forging bonds with various charming young girls throughout their adventure. In the end, the protagonist successfully defeats the Demon King and discovers another mastermind behind the scenes, revealing the tip of the iceberg of a massive conspiracy. On his smartphone, Xiaoshang watches the announcement for the launch of the 2024 New Year edition of the game Infinite Fantasy Cosmos, which promises valuable rewards for users who log in as part of the update. Having watched the announcement, Xiaoshang admits to being invincible in the game world, but in the real world, he says he is just an ordinary person. He says he won't treat all other anomalies as enemies like Jiang Yuan, but still says he can't guarantee if they will treat him the same and decides he needs the power to protect himself from any attacker. He says he needs to increase companions through the gacha system and mentions that Jean's profession is a shield knight, with surplus defense but insufficient attack. He pulls out his phone and activates the gacha system. Jean, who is in the shower, senses something and wonders what Xiaoshang is doing outside. Xiaoshang enters the gacha and calls out to Alice to come out. Not seeing Alice around, Xiaoshang wonders why she is invisible, knowing that the system should always be on, as a hand reaches for him from behind. Alice grabs Xiaoshang and hugs him, declaring she is here and addressing him as Oni-chan, taking him by surprise. Xiaoshang notices Alice appearing larger than usual and questions her about it, to which Alice responds by explaining that she has adjusted her appearance according to his preferences. She informs Xiaoshang that according to big data records, her new appearance is the mature and elder sister style he likes. Xiaoshang questions Alice about how she knows, and she confidently explains that for an all-powerful system like her, it's easy, teasing him about his current intentions to quickly gacha out all his wives, which makes him blush in disagreement. Alice tells Xiaoshang not to deny it, saying his thoughts are written all over his face. She pulls out Jin's and Xiaoshang's attributes and draws Xiaoshang's attention to them. Xiaoshang notices he is level 1 and Jin is level 30. And the difference between their other attributes is too large. Alice tells Xiaoshang that the interdimensional fragments are not just for gacha but are also important items for increasing attributes, strengthening skills, and unlocking skins. Xiaoshang recalls the gameplay of Fantasy Cosmos, involving controlling the actions of the drawn young girls, and that the commander played by the player won't easily join the battlefield, so he thinks having lower attributes is normal. He thinks back on the emphasis given by Alice on the importance of attribute distribute and wonders if he should strengthen his own attributes to avoid being a burden to his wives. He is stuck on which to decide. Prioritize increasing companions or enhance his attributes, so he asks Alice what she thinks he should choose and asks for her opinion. Alice tells him that he might have misunderstood and tells him she meant to accumulate more interdimensional fragments and then use gacha. She tells Xiaoshang that if he keeps on doing 10 consecutive draws and gets nothing, then the value of the ultimate gacha system will be lowered. Apologizing to Alice for his bluntness, Xiaoshang expresses his fatigue from the day and announces his intention to return next time before bidding her goodbye. Returned back to reality, Xiaoshang sits down and decides he will have a chat with Jiang Yuan the next day and ask her where he can find more monsters to get fragments from. Jean peeks out from the bathroom door and calls Xiaoshang, who asks her what's wrong. Jean says the faucet has been spraying cold water all the time and says she might have broken it. He notices Xiaoshang having a nosebleed and asks him if he is okay, to which Xiaoshang says he is okay and suggests the hot water in the heater might be used up. Turning the other way, Xiaoshang tells Jean to go and change into her pajamas first, leaving her puzzled as she agrees. At night, Xiaoshang, his face scarlet red, unable to sleep, offers to sleep on the floor while Jean sleeps on the bed, prompting her to inquire why. Getting up swiftly, he tells her that's because she is a girl. Jean also gets up and tells Xiaoshang that as his guardian knight, it's her duty to stay close to him and tells him not to treat her as a girl for his own safety. Xiaoshang cuddles up in his blanket and tells her he will do as she asks if it makes her happy. The moon shines brightly overhead as Xiaoshang and Jean sleep on the bed, each on their own side. Inside the house, Xiaoshang, who has his back turned to Jean, hears her mutter, calling out to him, telling him to stay by her side and not leave her. Xiaoshang blushes hearing this and turns to her, finding her deep in her sleep. He smiles at her and realizes she was sleep-talking and says she must be tired. Xiaoshang, anyway, thanks her. A voice shouts out in disagreement from a house, causing a few birds on the railings to take off. Jean bangs her fist on the table, firmly disagreeing with Xiaoshang and claiming she won't allow him to go out alone in the given situation. Xiaoshang, in his school uniform, tells Jean that he is heading for his school and can't take her along and requests her to wait at home. Jean refuses and shows her concern that Jiang Yuan might do something unfavorable to him and insists on accompanying Xiaoshang to the school. Xiaoshang sweats and realizes that judging by Jean's attitude, he won't be able to leave the house without doing something. He makes up his mind and uses the gacha, calling Alice and telling her he wants to draw a card. Alice, smirking, asks Xiaoshang if he really is sure and suggests he consider thinking it over. Xiaoshang says he doesn't need to think and orders Alice to draw the card. Alice follows his command and activates the Infinite Fantasy Universe card draw system. Xiaoshang hopes to summon the character named Tristana, an assassin whom he can use to make her hide in his shadow for protection. Xiaoshang uses his interdimensional fragments and starts the draw. The first draw gives him a useless stone, but he brushes his luck aside, saying it's just the first draw. The next 7 draws all give him useless stones as well, making him sweat and consider leaving the system in embarrassment. The 9th draw gives him a worn-out dress, but the 10th draw gives him a random companion as Alice mocks him for his bad luck. There is a huge uproar in demonic energy, and a portal-like object appears as Xiaoshang hopes it's Tristana while Jean recognizes the aura. From the portal, a woman with red hair ascends, saying she obeys the blood covenant and responding to the summon. The new woman lays her eyes on Xiaoshang and, calling him darling, she jumps on him, claiming it's nice to see him. She gets on top of Xiaoshang, and he recognizes her as Chimera, asking her how she got there. In the game, Chimera Bartoli is the daughter of the vampire prince and a human grand sorceress, with a sister named Hecate, each inheriting their parents' abilities uniquely. Hecate inherited her mother's magical abilities, while Chimera inherited her father's vampire abilities, making her the antagonist boss of the 2nd chapter in Fantasy Universe. After the 2nd chapter in the game, Chimera gets brainwashed and joins the character pool, later considering the protagonist her fiancé unilaterally and constantly contemplating procreation with him. Now summoned out from the game, Chimera stares down at Xiaoshang, calling him darling, and tells him his blood scent makes her excited. She asks if he is fond of her. Awkwardly, Xiaoshang says yes, and looking excited, Chimera suggests they create the crystallization of love now and reaches down to kiss him. Jean, who is still nearby, slams the table and asks Chimera what she is doing and reminds her it's still daytime. Chimera turns to Jean and, recognizing her, addresses her as the stupid pig knight and tells her to leave and not disturb the private world of her and her fiancé, Xiaoshang. Jean shouts at Chimera, calling her shameless, and calls her an old stinky bat, making Chimera angry and causing Jean to ask what did you say. Jean repeats the insult, calling Chimera stinky and an old bat, while Chimera calls her stupid pig knight back, and they both stare at each other, shooting daggers. Xiaoshang gets fed up with their arguments and insults at each other, and he loses it and shouts at them to stop arguing and bellows that he is going to be late. Xiaoshang walks into the school, puffing and sweating, and exclaims he managed to make it on time. He turns over his head and, looking at his bag, he asks whoever is inside if it's okay like that, and a voice from inside the bag answers him, telling him not to worry, reassuring him nothing is likely to happen. Inside the bag is Chimera, smaller in her bat form, who says she is the queen who rules over the entire vampire race, and not the stone-headed one who only knows how to wield a sword, Jean, whom they left at home. Inside the classroom, lost in thought by the window, Xiaoshang is snapped back to reality by Jiang Yuan's call, prompting him to inquire if something is awry. With red cheeks, Jiang Yuan tells Xiaoshang to follow her to the rooftop, claiming she has something to tell him, shocking the other boys in the class. On the rooftop of the school building, Xiaoshang and Jiang Yuan stand, peering downward. Jiang Yuan turns to Xiaoshang, amazed that he dared to return to school, and asks if he's not afraid of being ambushed by her. Xiaoshang explains to Jiang Yuan that he can't simply skip classes without reason and reassures her that she's not that discourteous. Jiang Yuan huffs and remarks to Xiaoshang that he is still as naive as ever. She proposes to Xiaoshang forming a temporary alliance, mentioning a place infested with interdimensional monsters and expressing difficulty in facing them alone. Xiaoshang, crossing his arms confidently, agrees to team up with her to fight monsters and clear dungeons, asking for more details about the dungeon. Jiang Yuan describes the dungeon as an abandoned district in the city haunted by interdimensional creatures inclined towards darkness and evil. She informs Xiaoshang that those interdimensional creatures will be perfectly countered by Jean's abilities, surprising Xiaoshang, who asks how she already understands Jean's abilities. Jiang Yuan smirks and explains to Xiaoshang that she researched Jean's abilities, prompting him to inquire about her findings. Jiang Yuan tells Xiaoshang that she perceives Jean as a righteous and upright female knight with great admiration for her commander, deeming it a cliché. With a disapproving look, Xiaoshang chides Jiang Yuan for her unkindness and hints at her use of an ability resembling that of Mo Chanlian, a character from the game, leading to Jiang Yuan's embarrassment and questioning of how he knew. Xiaoshang explains that Mo Chanlian is an immortal usually calm and composed in the game, but when the protagonist is in danger, he immediately goes berserk and activates wife protection mode, deeming it cliché. Jiang Yuan becomes furious and warns Xiaoshang not to talk about her Mo Chanlian like that, shouting that she'll kill him. Jiang Yuan is alarmed by Chimera appearing behind her, whispering in her ear that her blood smells delicious. As Chimera wraps her arms around Jiang Yuan from behind, Jiang Yuan panics and asks who she is, to which Chimera replies that she is Xiaoshang's only legal wife, the guardian of the blood race, Blood Queen. Jiang Yuan is surprised, wondering if Xiaoshang summoned Chimera as a new character, while Chimera, tightening her grip around Jiang Yuan, questions her if she attacked her husband. Chimera reveals her pointy teeth and, licking her lips, warns Jiang Yuan how she dares threaten her fiancé, vowing to teach her a lesson. Looking worried, Jiang Yuan asks Chimera what she is doing. Chimera locks eyes with Jiang Yuan, employing her seductive demon gaze, capable of brainwashing and hypnotizing her foes, even altering their memories, leaving Jiang Yuan ensnared by Chimera's technique, bewildered and unaware of what is occurring. Xiaoshang asks Chimera what she is doing, and she tells him that she is just temporarily controlling Jiang Yuan, instructing him to give Jiang Yuan any command. Chimera snaps her fingers, ordering Jiang Yuan to take off her clothes and run downstairs as a demonstration. Taken aback by Chimera's actions, Xiaoshang asks her to stop, and Chimera tells Xiaoshang she is doing that just to vent for him. Chimera gets close to Xiaoshang and tells him that if he wants her to spare Jiang Yuan, he will have to give her a passionate kiss. Chimera grabs Xiaoshang's arm, making him blush, and he agrees to her terms. A blue flame of fire hurtles towards Chimera, striking her on her face. Chimera turns around and sees Jiang Yuan back to her senses, exclaiming she underestimated her willpower for breaking out of her hypnosis so easily. Looking angry, Jiang Yuan tells Chimera that she won't spare her for daring to play such a trick on her. Chimera produces a ball of demonic energy between her hands, declaring she will teach Jiang Yuan a lesson for ambushing her. Xia Shang orders the two girls to calm down, realizing it's not wise for them to fight, especially since Chimera is not only a superior vampire but also a high-level mage specializing in blood magic. Jiang Yuan realizes Chimera is a mage and acknowledges her difference from Jean, noting her strong smell of blood. Jiang Yuan declares she will go all out, prompting Chimera to mock her and challenge her to demonstrate her skills. Students below on the ground notice an uproar of energy on the rooftop of the school building and become confused, asking what is happening, feeling a sudden creepy sensation. Xia Shang joins his hands and requests Jiang Yuan and Chimera to stop fighting over such a trivial matter, successfully making them cease their altercation. Xia Shang warns them that any disturbance could escalate and they wouldn't be able to control the situation with the students below, instructing Jiang Yuan to get properly dressed. Jiang Yuan sprints away in embarrassment, shouting at Xia Shang not to drag her down, while Xia Shang sighs in relief, noting that things have finally calmed down. Xia Shang asks Chimera to transform into her bat form, realizing it would be problematic if someone sees her, to which Chimera agrees. Meanwhile, Jean waits outside Xia Shang's school gate. Peeking inside the fence, she feels uneasy about Xia Shang and wonders if she should break the rules to go inside and check on him. She considers breaking the rules just once for Xia Shang's sake. Jean stealthily navigates the school's premises, careful not to get caught. She reassuring herself that her actions, though not good, are for Xia Shang's safety. Xia Shang notices Jean and asks her how she is there, startling her. Chimera, perched on Xia Shang's shoulder in her bat form, reminds him of her earlier warning that Jean wouldn't stay home quietly. Jean, looking guilty, says she was little worried for Xia Shang. Xia Shang, smiling, reassures Jean not to worry, inviting her to join him for lunch to discuss further. A small house-like structure sits beneath lots of trees. Jean questions Xia Shang if he really will team up with Jiang Yuan. Xia Shang affirms, saying Jiang Yuan might be trustworthy. Xia Shang acknowledges his own limitations in strength and decides to rely on Jean and Chimera for the upcoming fight, likening himself to a Pokemon trainer. Wondering if he can utilize the equipment he obtained from the gacha draw, Xia Shang suddenly finds himself inside the gacha system. Alice appears behind him, referring to him as her little Oni-chan, and says he finally understands. Xia Shang notices her altered appearance and questions if she changed her look. Alice confirms Xia Shang's consistent appearance and verifies that the equipment he drew earlier is usable. Xia Shang, gleeful, inspects the equipment obtained from Chimera's draws and picks the one with the best attributes. His joy fades upon finding the top-tier equipment is a pink, fluffy rabbit armor, enhancing defense and magic resistance. Alice recommends the rabbit armor, but Xia Shang rejects it, finding it embarrassing, preferring death by monsters over wearing it. She informs him that he can choose to conceal the appearance of the equipment. Alice explains that the unused equipment can be used as materials to strengthen other items. Xia Shang nods in understanding, acknowledging that he can upgrade necessary equipment using seemingly useless materials. He proceeds to use 2 useless stones and 1 clumsy wolf fawn club to upgrade the rabbit armor. He examines the stats and laments that it's all he can do, expressing disappointment at the lack of a strong weapon. While Alice comments on the pitiful attribute, Xia Shang remarks that at least his defenses have been greatly enhanced, providing him with better protection, to which Alice responds with a shrug, stating that as long as he is happy. It's nighttime. Xia Shang steps out onto a dimly lit inner street. Accompanied by Jean and Chimera, he asserts that they should be in the right place. Jiang Yuan, already at the location and standing by a wall, chides Xia Shang for being too slow and questions why they are late. Xia Shang remains silent and observes Jiang Yuan's clothes. He tells her that she appears to be cosplaying from the game Spring and Autumn Forgotten Love Chronicles, a claim she denies. The 4 of them survey the empty surroundings, with Xia Shang remarking to Jiang Yuan that the place doesn't seem particularly special. Jiang Yuan warns Xia Shang not to blame her for now, informing him that going further ahead leads to a sealed-off parallel space where monsters from various fantasy worlds appear. Xia Shang expresses disbelief and considers it an exaggeration, stepping forward. Xia Shang's reaction instantly shifts to shock. The air becomes thick with blood-like vapor as Xia Shang asks what's going on. Xia Shang covers his nose and asks why there's strong smell of blood, and Jiang Yuan tells him that it's a parallel space. Chimera smells the air, saying the strong smell of blood excites her, and Jean calls her freaky small bat. Chimera turns to Jean and angrily asks her what she said, calling her Iron Cannon. Jean also talks back, calling Chimera a freaky, smelly bat. The 2 of them engage in a quarrel, exchanging insults and teasing each other. From above, Morrigan lets out an evil laugh, stating that it's as she expected. She says that the good show is about to begin as poison-like gas evolves out of the corner of the alley below. Something walks out from the corner. Numerous zombies appear as Morrigan mutters to Xia Shang not to let her down. The air is thick with the scent of blood as Xiaoshang and the others scan their surroundings with serious expressions. Chimera detects a strong presence of bloody mystery and announces that somebody is nearby. Xiaoshang senses something alarming. Xiaoshang turns to the side and is shocked to see a horde of zombies approaching them. Xiaoshang, Jean, Jiang Yuan, and Chimera find themselves surrounded by zombies from all directions. Jean invokes the light god and summons the holy sword. Utilizing the holy sword, Jean unleashes a holy light slash, annihilating a group of zombies. Chimera stops Jean from stealing the limelight by draining the life from all the zombies with her death absorption power, rendering them lifeless. The system notifies Xiaoshang that he has received 4 interdimensional fragments, prompting him to realize that not every zombie drops shards. Jiang Yuan informs Xiaoshang that he is blessed with luck and his summoning ability is enviable. Then, Jiang Yuan activates the Frost Descent card. She summons a whirling snowstorm that freezes several zombies into ice statues. She chuckles at the frozen zombies, deeming it a significant harvest, and hints at extracting new skills, while Xiaoshang reminds her to consider the attack range in the future. Jiang Yuan says she has to use wide-range moves to snatch more fragments and mocks Xiaoshang, saying she can't summon beautiful girls like him. Xiaoshang expresses curiosity about why Jiang Yuan brought him along, as the zombies seem no trouble for her and she could have collected all the fragments alone. Uneasy, Jiang Yuan suggests to Xiaoshang that there might be more dangerous monsters ahead and urges him to move forward. Xiaoshang notices Jiang Yuan's change in tone and wonders if she has anything else unpleasant to say. The group proceeds forward, with Xiaoshang marveling at the strangeness of the situation, noting the large block has become a nest for monsters without anyone noticing. Jiang Yuan explains that ordinary people cannot enter the place, as it exists in a different dimension, and even if they accidentally do, they probably won't survive. Reminding the others of the necessity to be cautious in such a place, Jiang Yuan emphasizes it as a basic requirement. Jean abruptly turns around and tells Xiaoshang to wait, sensing malicious intent targeting them. A portal suddenly materializes above the 4 of them, catching them off guard. Chimera questions if it's a form of teleportation magic, while Jean urgently calls out to Xiaoshang. Jiang Yuan looks terrified at the unexpected turn of events. In an instant, the portal transports all 4 of them away from their previous location. Jean finds herself teleported to a cemetery and realizes she is alone and separated from Xiaoshang. A masked figure wielding a chainsaw appears behind Jean, smoke billowing from its nose. Chimera is teleported at a different location, in a corridor. She curses, claiming she got too careless. She says she must hurry and find her husband as a lot of white smoke appears behind her. A hand emerges from the smoke. Xiaoshang finds himself teleported inside a clinic-like room. Massaging his head, he feels a bit dizzy, questioning what just happened. Scanning the surroundings, he admits the atmosphere feels like something out of a horror movie. A voice warns him not to move recklessly, and saying treatment time is up. A lady appears. The woman is clad in a nurse outfit, and as Xiaoshang recognizes her, he remarks on the flashiness of her attire. Xiaoshang asks her if she is Mozingen, to which the lady corrects him, saying it's Morrigan. Morrigan asks if her outfit feels like a horror movie, leading Xiaoshang to privately compare it to a cheap film. Xiaoshang questions if she separated him from his companions for her advantage, but Morrigan denies involvement and expresses surprise at seeing him. Morrigan reveals her true target, the anomaly in the area, capable of controlling a variety of monsters from horror films. Morrigan explains to Xiaoshang that the anomaly in the area is particularly adept, presenting a troublesome adversary, but expresses concern about Jiang Yuan. Xiaoshang reassures her, noting Jiang Yuan's formidable strength. Xiaoshang recalls Jiang Yuan's expression changing back when the portal appeared and shows concern if she had been scared then. In another location, Jiang Yuan finds herself captured, her hands tied behind her back, as she demands the person in front of her to let her go. The person laughs and tells Jiang Yuan not to be hasty, offering her a game to play. With his arms crossed, Xiaoshang finds it hard to believe that Jiang Yuan would be afraid, knowing she's not a novice. Morrigan questions Xiaoshang if he thinks everyone has the same luck as him in summoning warriors from other worlds. Morrigan acknowledges Jean for her skills as a seasoned holy knight, naturally adept at suppressing those dark creatures. At the cemetery, Jean punches the masked monster, knocking him out. Standing over him, she tells him it's despicable to launch a sneak attack. Morrigan comments on Chimera, the Blood Queen with direct bloodline suppression, being even more formidable. Chimera confronts a retreating vampire, questioning his identity and calling him lowly scum, while he challenges her bloodline claim. She channels dark energy into her hand, commanding the terrified vampire to vanish, eliciting fearful shouts and questions. Morrigan informs Xiaoshang that Jean and Chimera are top forces in their world, experienced in battle, contrasting with the ordinary people in Xiaoshang's world. Morrigan asks Xiaoshang how many ordinary people could face monsters like raptors, sea octopuses, and zombies without flinching. The masked anomaly who captured Jiang Yuan introduces himself as Diana, expressing interest in horror movies and bloody films. Jiang Yuan curses Diana, questioning why he captured her instead of watching horror movies in cinemas. Diana expresses dissatisfaction with traditional horror movies and plans to create films with realistic effects. Initially limited to filming basic blood-soaked scenes, Diana can now manipulate movie ghosts, expanding his film repertoire. Horrified, Jiang Yuan questions Diana about using ghosts to kill and film people, to which he admits, praising real reactions over actors. At the clinic, Xiaoshan questions if Morgaine implies the anomaly's ability involves creating illusions, expressing concern for Jiang Yuan's safety and considering going to rescue her. Morgaine tells Xiaoshan not to be hasty, suggesting they form a temporary cooperation against their common enemy. Xiaoshan rejects the idea of cooperation, adamant that he will never make a deal with the devil. Morgaine warns Xiaoshan that he'll be alone without his teammates if he refuses her offer. Frightening Xiaoshan, Morgaine warns him that if he goes out alone, he might encounter small monsters, but if he goes with her, she can help him. Xiaoshan reluctantly agrees to team up with Morgaine, despite his distrust. Xiaoshan vows never to trust a wicked witch like Morgaine, wondering about Jean and the others' well-being and if they've managed to escape. Jean looks around, unable to find Xiaoshan and Jiang Yuan, worrying about Xiaoshan's safety. Suddenly, a hammer strikes, and a voice condemns Jean for her sins, startling her. Facing a group of judges, Jean learns that she's accused of blasphemy and finds herself bound in shackles, unable to shake them off. Startled, Jean questions what's going on, realizing she can't escape the shackles binding her. The bishop offers Jean a chance to admit her wrongdoings and repent to avoid the death penalty, condemning her unfit to lead and sentencing her to life in prison. Jean argues with the bishop, insisting she heard revelations from God and pleading to return to the front lines to aid her comrades. The bishop silences Jean, warning her against claiming to carry out God's will, declaring her expulsion from the clergy and sentencing her to death by flames. As she's taken away, Jean cries out, denying deception and begging the bishop for mercy. Chimera walks alone through an alleyway, lost in her thoughts. Showing concern for not finding Jean and Xiaoshan, Chimera feels embarrassed for being tricked by the teleportation spell despite her proficiency in blood magic. Hecate appears behind her, explaining that blood magic is just one aspect of their bloodline's talents, surprising Chimera. Smirking, Hecate taunts Chimera about her lack of magical talent, dismissing blood magic as a low-quality substitute and suggesting she'd be better off as a vampire. Angered by Hecate's remarks, Chimera confronts her about their shared bloodline and questions why she inherited mage talents while Chimera only inherited physical strength. Fueled by anger, Chimera hovers above the ground, surrounded by her blood magic, demanding answers. Diana laughs, suggesting to Jiang Yuan that the true nightmare comes from within and asks if she's prepared to face the nightmares in her heart. Horrified, Jiang Yuan wonders what her nightmare will reveal. Jiang Yuan faces her nightmare, a terrifying zombie, which she shouts at to stay away. Xiaoshan, accompanied by Morgaine, curses as he searches for his companions in vain. Morgaine suggests that their companions might be tormented by their own nightmares and offers to help Xiaoshan enter their dreams for a price. Explaining that nightmares can't affect her as the succubus queen, Morgaine offers to assist Xiaoshan in exchange for a small favor. Xiaoshan inquires about the price, to which Morgaine replies that it's just a small favor. With a malicious look, Morgaine informs Xiaoshan that he'll owe her a small favor in return for her help. Xiaoshan queries Morrigan about the favor she mentioned, but she assures him he'll find out later, also questioning how he's certain Diane led their companions into a nightmare. He closes his eyes, saying he has his ways and requesting Morrigan's immediate assistance to fall asleep, to which she agrees. Morrigan agrees to his request and says she will send him in. She wishes him sweet dreams, producing a glowing substance on her palms, puzzling Xiaoshan. Morrigan blows a powdery substance at Xiaoshan, making him feel dizzy. Xiaoshan instantly falls asleep with his head resting against Morrigan. Morrigan acknowledges Diane's remarkable ability to control nightmares, suggesting they exploit it or eliminate him. In the dreamland, something materializes with an explosion and flash of light. A hole shaped like a human body appears on the ground. Xiaoshan pushes himself out of the hole, exclaiming in pain and recalling bumping into something soft and fluffy. Alice appears before him, asking how he entered the dreamland, while Xiaoshan, looking up at her, questions her back, asking how she got there. Alice, as the strongest card drawing system, finds entering the dreamland easy and notes it's not an ordinary dream but already akin to an alternate dimension. She informs Xiaoshan about the tasks he's triggered, mentioning that completing them will yield rewards. Xiaoshan checks the log, finding the task to rescue their trapped companions in the nightmare, and wonders how he'll locate them in the dream. Alice reassures Xiaoshan not to worry and informs him that the Summon Girls have a special connection with him. She agrees to guide him to find his companions. Alice points out that she found one of the companions and gestures towards a door, which Xiaoshan identifies as likely belonging to Lan Na's dream. Curious about Jean's dream, Xiaoshan enters the door. A girl is bound to a stake in front of a large crowd, while a person beside her reads from a scroll accusing Jean of making a pact with the devil and blinding the Great Lord. Xiaoshang recognizes the one bound to the stake as Jean and wonders if it's the scene from the game where she is falsely accused by the church and sentenced. Announcing according to the church's decree, Jean will be sentenced to be burned at the stake. The church orders Jean's execution in the name of God as flames ignite beneath her. Watching Jean's ordeal, Xiaoshang ponders the actions of the game's protagonist. The bishop, joined by his companion, derides Jean as a foolish girl deserving her fate. Xiaoshang identifies the bishop as the antagonist from the game who conspired with demons to frame Jean. He feels pressed for time, opting to rouse Jean before she plunges further into her nightmare, rather than confronting the Pope. Xiaoshang approaches Jean, urging her to awaken, as Jean, hearing the voice, wonders who is calling her. Jean notices Xiaoshang and thinks about why he looks familiar, recognizing him as her commander, and questions why he is there. Xiaoshang continues shouting at her to wake up and avoid getting trapped in the nightmare. Jean questions if it's all just a nightmare, suddenly recalling everything and regaining her senses. Finally gaining control, Jean acknowledges it's just a nightmare. She emits holy light, her body glowing. A massive beam of light descends, surprising the bishop, who questions how it's possible. Everyone around Xiaoshang freezes. The frozen bishop, astonished, marvels at Jean for managing to shake off her fear so easily. The bishop and everything surrounding Xiaoshang all shatter like glass. Jiang Yuan screams and shouts in distress as the zombie draws closer, intensifying her fear. Holding a remote, Diane tells Jiang Yuan that she seems on the verge of surrendering, stating he will demonstrate how her companion is tormented by fear. He switches the television, saying that others have already endured torment from nightmares to the point of unbearable suffering. He throws the remote in anger as he watches the television, shouting in disbelief at what he sees. On the TV screen, Xiaoshang is seen carrying Jean, both of them appearing cheerful. Diane, visibly shocked, questions how that's possible and why it's happening. At the base of a building, a door suddenly materializes in the air. Xiaoshang and Jean step through it, planning to locate Chimera next, though Jean expresses doubt about Chimera's predicament. Xiaoshang affirms that both Jean and Chimera are ensnared by nightmares and need rescuing to avoid worsening their condition, prompting Jean to ponder Chimera's specific nightmare. Xiaoshang contemplates Jean's question, considering the nature of Chimera's potential nightmare. Chimera engages in a fierce battle with her sister Hecate, questioning why she's been on the defensive the whole time. Chimera hurls a massive fireball at Hecate, urging her to engage in combat. A tremendous explosion erupts, drawing the focus of Xiaoshang and Jean. Hecate defends against Chimera's attack, acknowledging her sister's heightened power but warning of its consequences. Undeterred, Chimera readies another fireball, willing to sacrifice herself to defeat Hecate. Xiaoshang intervenes, preventing Chimera from unleashing the attack and expressing concern for her well-being. Chimera questions Xiaoshang's reason for stopping her and asks him if he is trying to protect Hecate. Xiaoshang expresses his concern to Chimera, asking if it's necessary for her to engage in a fight to the death with Hecate. Chimera reveals the burden of inheriting their bloodline's abilities, leading to a lifetime of discrimination and comparison with her privileged sister, Hecate. She expresses her despair at never matching up to Hecate, feeling compelled to eliminate her sister to find peace, prompting Xiaoshang to realize the severity of Chimera's emotions. Acting impulsively, Xiaoshang kisses Chimera, surprising her with the unexpected gesture. Xiaoshang embraces Chimera, reassuring her of her worth and reminding her of their bond as husband and wife, urging her not to speak of death. Jean looks crossed as Chimera apologizes to Xiaoshang for her emotional outburst, and Xiaoshang is relieved to have calmed her down. Xiaoshang, alarmed, questions why Hecate, an imagined figure from Chimera's nightmare, is still able to cast spells. Hecate explains that she's preparing a teleportation spell to take Xiaoshang to confront the mastermind behind the scenes. Xiaoshang wonders how Hecate can act independently within Chimera's nightmare. Hecate reveals that she shares Chimera's memories and consciousness, realizing she's part of a nightmare and asserting her status as an archmage. Diane expresses shock at Hecate's awareness and denies its possibility in frustration. Diane explains that his ability, Dreamslayer, manifests nightmare monsters based on the target's fears, which intensify with the target's fear level. He admits he can't control the monster's actions but questions why they possess autonomy like Hecate. Hecate attributes her autonomy to Chimera's deep understanding of her, portraying her as powerful and wise in her subconscious. She advises Chimera to release her attachment to her current state of being. Turning to Xiaoshang, Hecate urges him to summon her in the real world, promising her magical assistance, which Xiaoshang hopes to receive. Hecate opens a portal and urges Xiaoshang to step through, revealing the mastermind awaits on the other side. Diane sweats in fear as Hecate's face appears on his TV screens, warning him that she'll vanish along with the dream, leaving him to face judgment soon. The televisions burst into flames, causing a small explosion that knocks Diane to the ground, who mutters in fear that this can't be happening. Diane slumps on the floor, still in shock. A voice addresses him from the side, alarming him. Xiaoshang, accompanied by Chimera and Jean, appears, and Xiaoshang declares that Diane must be the mastermind behind the scenes. Jiang Yuan tells Xiaoshang that Diane is responsible for the attacks and reveals that Diane is also a psycho killer who loves horror movies. Upon learning Diane is a psycho killer, Xiaoshang finds it understandable given the attacks and decides there's no need to engage with him further. Diane faces a dilemma, whether to dispel the dream killer, transform into another monster, or use fear transformation to avoid creating an uncontrollable entity, ultimately opting for the latter without concern for the outcome. Jiang Yuan realizes Diane is stalling and warns Xiaoshang about Diane's ability to control nightmares and instill fear in others. Diane laughs, declaring it's too late as his dream killer ability is activated, vowing to transform into Xiaoshang's worst nightmare. Diane gives a sinister laugh as he starts transforming into the thing which scares Xiaoshang most, shouting, "Go to hell." After a while, Diane successfully transforms into the demoness named Morgaine and asks Xiaoshang how his new terrifying demeanor is. Xiaoshang and others are speechless at seeing Diane's transformation. Diane realizes his transformation into a woman, puzzled by his changed form and finding the revealing clothes inappropriate. Xiaoshang says he was almost killed by Morgaine a few days ago, so it's normal for him to fear her. Diane shouts at Xiaoshang for daring to play tricks on him. Chimera questions Diane's audacity to be arrogant in front of her after manipulating her and her sister's memories. Chimera uses the blood chain to tie up Diane, lifting him up in the air. Diane, struggling and bound, says he is the master of terror and he won't lose. As in movies, humans never win against monsters. Xiaoshang suggests to Jean they go and give Diane a good beating. Jean agrees. Xiaoshang says the elements like fear, unpredictability, and harmful desires are found inside monsters in horror, not revealing the true identity of the monsters. Jean grabs Diane's throat and says monsters are supposed to be immortal, and he is not. A beam of light falls down on Diane, causing him to scream out in pain. Diane lays on the ground on his back, defeated, and the system gives a notification saying the mission is completed, providing Xiaoshang experience points. Xiaoshang realizes anomaly elimination often triggers system updates, unlocking new features and providing rewards. Jiang Yuan asks Xiaoshang how long he will leave her tied up for. Xiaoshang apologizes, giving a smile, and says he will untie Jiang Yuan right away. Xiaoshang half opens his eyes and sees Jean and others looking down at him, Jean telling him to wake up. As Xiaoshang opens his eyes, Jean gives a smile and says she is glad he is awake. Xiaoshang asks where he is at and Jean tells him that they found him sleeping there. Xiaoshang stands up and says he guesses Morgaine must have left him there. Jiang Yuan asks him if he cooperated with Morgaine and says she might have done something to him while he slept. Xiaoshang notices a lipstick-shaped mark on his neck and is startled. He screams out loud, calling Morgaine miserable and stating he won't spare her. Inside a house, on a sofa, Diane is sitting, possibly dead. Morgaine teleports in front of Diane and says it's unexpected of him to fall into the hands of two novice anomalies and says dying in the dream means dying in reality. Morgaine says it's such a pity for such a powerful anomaly like Diane to be defeated. Morgaine reaches for a book on Diane's lap as she says he will slowly rot away in that ruin. She gives a smile as she says she finally got her hands on the secrets of the Daemon Maggot and claims the trip was not in vain.